Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder. Currently house sitting, and I'm sparing everybody the up my nose camera view.
Yeah. well, I guess we should appreciate that. Although, just trim the tears, and you'll probably be fine.
Well, um, I don't have a weed whacker handy, so
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if you're returning, welcome back. If you're new, what we've been doing for about a month or so is we watch something new or relatively new to start off, or we review something that we watch that's relatively new. And then we get into a little box office talk, and then we watch something classic. Although in the case this week, I would say probably more cult classic.
definitely more cult classic.
Yeah. So for our new thing, and if you saw the title, you probably already know what it is, or if you are looking at my T-shirt, um, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, the Seth Rogen Turtles.
The I did not notice until just before the show that I grabbed an image of the 16-month 2024 calendar, but that actually is appropriate because I have a hard time believing that this movie was made because somebody had a burning desire to tell a Ninja Turtle story. This was made to keep that licensing machine going.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, judging from this movie, I would say you're probably correct on that.
Yep.
Uh,
So okay, so just as we get started, I personally do not care about spoiling this movie. We both have thoughts about this movie that I think would be hard to express without spoiling this movie.
Indeed.
Uh, I think that the non-spoiler review we would have, and we talked a little bit about this, is that it has a very cool premise
Mhm.
that is smothered under a pile of Seth Rogen.
Yes, that is an accurate description. Oh man, yeah. But yeah. So to get into I guess we should get into the meat of this.
Yep.
The basically this is a new origin story for the turtles, which we already have several of those already. I don't know why we need another origin story. Um,
Because otherwise, everyone's going to wonder what happened to April if you don't establish that it's a new universe.
yes, of course. Yeah. So it sets up where the turtles are what 14, 15, 15, I think, was it?
Maybe even 13.
Yeah. They're very young. And they act like it too.
Yeah, I would say that that's this movie's unique calling card in terms of Turtles premises.
Yeah. They definitely act more like teenage boys than the other adaptations, which I would say is a bug, not a feature.
Yeah, it's something where I see why they would want to do it like that. By the way, how bad is the echo?
Oh no, you're good.
Okay, maybe I ought to move to a different room of the house, but since I'm on my laptop, you won't even know I'm doing it
Oh yeah.
through the power of movie magic.
Yes.
Anyway, it's like the base idea of skewing them younger and actually what I would say is that this is more than any of the other Turtles media I've consumed a coming of age identity story.
Yeah.
And it has a premise that I actually really like and wish that had been done more seriously, which is the Ninja Turtles are it's basically they've ripped off X-Men, kind of like we were suspecting uh, during one of our trailer reactions to this one.
Yeah. Yeah, then it's yeah, because you had the because you have the villain in the story, Superfly, who was very much just a inserted. It's just Magneto as a giant fly guy.
Yep, voiced by was it Ice Cube?
Ice Cube. Yeah,
And I actually really liked his take on Superfly. Like,
yeah,
I kind of liked how he would like do like the buzzing sound effects occasionally.
yeah.
It must have been fun to record with him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say Ice Cube is underrated as an actor. I think because he's everything I've seen him in, he's been pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, he's just very solid at what he does.
yeah. But
Uh,
yeah,
yeah. So in this take on things, the it opens up with a scene that's actually pretty darn serious if you get down to it, which makes the rest of the movie strange.
yeah, yeah. You've got the TCRI commandos raiding Baxter Stockman's house because he's doing all the experiments with the mutagen or the ooze and in
Ooze,
ooze.
ooze.
Mm,
God, that scene.
yeah. Yeah. But so yeah, and then I can't the that scene happened so fast. Did Stockman get offed?
Yes, he died in the explosion that was caused
Okay.
by the raid. And so Superfly took his brothers and sisters and went to make a separate society of mutants.
Right. And it's a bunch of them. And it's like you got Bebop and Rocksteady, um,
Wingnut.
Wingnut, Mondo Gecko, um, uh,
It wasn't.
Scumbug.
It wasn't Raymon. It was like with some sort of manta ray.
Yeah. Yeah. Grateful Eight.
Okay.
And then I can't remember who the other ones were,
There's
but
like Genghis Toad, who they made fun of,
King,
made a
oh
point
right,
making fun of
Genghis
his
Toad.
name.
Yeah, Genghis Toad. That's right. Uh, but yeah, and then of course that same ooze was what goes down into the sewers and mutates the turtles and Splinter, which completely changes their backstory. They just completely wiped out like how Splinter was the pet rat of Ninja Master Hamato Yoshi, and then Yoshi getting killed by the Shredder, and then getting lost in the sewers, and then finding the baby turtles, and
Yeah. Or, in my opinion, after seeing a few run throughs of different turtle variants, I think I prefer it where Splinter is Hamato Yoshi because it makes much more sense of how he's able to teach them to be good ninjas.
yeah, I would agree with that too. Yeah, although that of course it isn't. It doesn't jive. It's not. That's not the original vision of Eastman and Laird comic books. But yeah,
Yeah.
um,
It also explains why okay, so I'm about to be pedantic about a children's movie about talking monsters. But there's like a verisimilitude to it, right?
mhm,
So
yeah,
realistically, if you like, I'm imagining my cats. If I made my cats suddenly super intelligent, it's not like they suddenly know how to be human.
right. They would they'd probably sound like Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, or yeah, like they would, you know, it's not like they suddenly know English because they've mutated.
Right. Yeah.
So, honestly, if anything, all the turtles should speak with the same Japanese accent that Hamada Yoshi did in the '90s cartoon or the '80s cartoon.
Yeah, that's true. But though they sound like New Yorkers.
Yep. Which, uh, okay, that's I'm going to stop being pedantic about it.
Okay.
But it feels strange to have a rat, or this rat. It makes no sense for him to decide to get into ninjutsu or to even be good at it.
Yeah, and how he gets good at it doesn't work, by the way. Like you can't just watch videos of martial arts and karate and then become good at karate. It just doesn't work that way.
No, because like this version of Splinter is played by Jackie Chan,
Mhm.
because I guess to Hollywood the Japanese and the Chinese are interchangeable.
Yeah, I guess so. Jeez. Uh,
Um, Actually, you know what? That actually fits because there's nothing Japanese about this guy. He is just cultural appropriation. He learned it all in or YouTube videos,
yeah, that's true.
so it fits.
Yeah. But yeah, and then of course the turtles, they don't like being in this. Of course, Splinter's very protective of them. Like he doesn't like humans because there was an incident where they went above ground when he was like younger and they were still kind of young,
Hmm.
or they were like babies, and then all the humans were freaked out by them, and so now Splinter doesn't like humans.
Yep.
Yeah, it just
He
doesn't
did
make any
from the
sense.
start, considering that he was a rat being abused by humans to start with, but definitely not afterwards.
Right. Yeah. And so the turtles want to, they want to go explore the human world, and so they're doing all this, they go grocery shopping, and
AKA looting.
yes. And then they stop off briefly at an outdoor movie screening of Ferris Bueller.
Which isn't animated. It's just the
No.
live action Ferris Bueller plopped into the movie.
Which I hate when animated stuff does that, because it
Yeah.
just doesn't make any sense at all.
The only one I'll give that to is Wally, because they were going for enough photorealism that it kind of jives, but
Yeah, it just doesn't
even
work with
then,
this. Yeah.
make animators animate again.
Yes. Yeah, and so then one of their nights when they're out,
Oh,
they yeah,
they make a point of when they go on these nighttime excursions, like as they point out, Splinter doesn't know how long it takes to go to the bodega. So
r-
they like milk it for as much time as they can.
right, yeah, and then Splinter figures out finds out what they're doing, and then grounds them. But then they get, you know, they serve out their punishment, and then they're on the roof goofing off with a watermelon, and the ninja star that they throw at the watermelon flies off it, and then it hits April's helmet. And that's
Yep.
when they meet April.
And Leonardo immediately falls in love. And this is actually so this is where Leonardo had been like, okay, just quick sidebar. I think everyone is reasonably in character.
Yeah.
They're all kind of more extreme. I think I likened this to what would happen if Michelangelo was the only source for like imagine somebody decided to make a movie about the turtles' lives, and Michelangelo was the only one who agreed to talk with them, and so everybody is like his description, right? Oh yeah, Raphael, he's kind of violent, might be a little unhinged, and have some emotional problems. Now I think about it,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of the lovable goofball who everybody likes, and Donatello is just a dork, and Leonardo's got a stick up his butt.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. But but yeah, like Leonardo was actually kind of like, I think you pointed this out when we were watching it, that he you can kind of empathize with him, because he's the one who's trying to keep them from like getting into trouble too much, and
Yeah.
then
When you're a kid, you're Michelangelo. When you're an angry teen, you become Raphael. And then when you're an adult, you become Leonardo because you realize there are bills to pay.
yeah. And but yeah, then he sees April and falls madly in love with her, which
Yeah.
I'm okay. Can we s- can we stop doing this? Having one of the turtles fall in love with April. I'm
That,
getting really. I mean, it's weird.
you can never go anywhere with it.
Yeah, like, because I mean, so like the 2012 series, it was Donatello. Donatello falls in love with April, And then the Michael Bay movies, it's Michelangelo. And then this movie, it's Leonardo.
Oh, I had stayed away from the Michael Bay movies. I didn't realize they'd gone the Shelley route.
Oh yeah, yeah, they did.
Ugh.
Yeah, and it was creepy too.
Ugh.
Very creepy. Um,
But
but yeah,
uh, I'm also just going to say, okay, in Leo's case, I guess it's because, like, it's the first girl he's ever talked to.
mm,
But I'm sorry, it's kind of the same issue as that Scrooge movie I watched last year, where Will Ferrell's character took one look at Queen Latifah. No, not even. No, it wasn't even Queen Latifah. It took a look at, I forget her name, but
yeah.
kind of well,
Like somebody like Queen Latifah.
yeah, and just immediately fell madly in love. It's like, I don't know. I like I feel like, especially with these kids being Zoomers who actually have smartphones that can work in the sewer for some reason, I feel like their societal beauty standards would be
Uh,
okay. I think, okay, we showed that one chart of the different April O'Neils.
yeah,
We agreed that, like, okay, race bending questions aside, um, if she is, I would believe he could fall in love and have a crush, immediate crush on the one from the last cartoon series on Nickelodeon.
yeah, I could believe that. Yeah,
I don't know. Just for me, like, she seriously looks like, does not look like she's a, if she's a teenager, she need, like, her parents need to. I'm
body positive April.
Yes, body positivity April.
Yeah,
Which, as somebody who has a lifelong struggle with his weight, I know it isn't as easy as just declaring that, but you you shouldn't necessarily, like, glamorize it.
yeah. Glorify it. Yeah,
And, like,
yeah,
this isn't to say that a heavy set character shouldn't, can't be a love interest. It's just that it would be more like you would fall in love with their personality, which would not be an immediate zing moment.
right. Yeah, that is something that would happen over time. Yeah,
But they needed a reason for Leonardo to suddenly stop being the brakes on their crazy train.
right. Yeah, it's yeah, but
So, they have a fight scene after April's scooter gets stolen. She's reporting for the school newspaper. Or no, she's trying to make a blog because she used to be in video, but she projectile vomited out of nerves when she got a chance to be on the school AV club.
yeah, and that scene went on just a little too long.
And they called back to it again at the end of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. Jeez. Um, but yeah,
But so she's been investigating the crimes committed by Superfly and his gang,
right.
and she
Which
has managed to piece together enough to figure out, oh, they have these associations.
right, and so we actually were shown that clip from that montage where they're busting into all the crime people's hideouts and beating everybody up, which is that was a pretty cool little sequence. I will admit.
Yeah, like, because basically, for all four of these break-ins, one of them is taking point each time, and they've animated it so that they just intercut between the different fights very seamlessly.
Yeah, that's I was that was probably the best scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, an old boy scene.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and so then they find out who what, oh god, I'm trying to remember.
Well,
So much of this movie's a blank.
yeah, so they find out that they find out where Superfly is meeting with someone, so they show up instead.
Right.
Superfly is, they're actually way more understanding than they should be that there are four mutants there. I didn't know that. I'm gonna make up a gangster name. That Fat Tony had mutants on his crew. Cool. When, as far as they know, they're the only mutants.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, little plot hole there.
Well, there's a lot of little things like that.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's just go through our rundown of the plot because we're closer to done than we should be.
Yes, yeah.
So then the turtles meet up with Superfly's gang, and we learned that which one is the pig? Is it Bebop or Rocksteady?
Bebop is the pig.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Bebop has pierced nipples and is voiced by Seth Rogen.
Yeah. Uh,
And then they kept showing his man tits, so
yeah. They were obsessed with nipples in this movie.
Yeah, we'll get to the
Yeah.
milking in a minute.
Yeah.
So they go out and they have a night of fun with these fellow mutants, and they feel some camaraderie. And it turns out that Superfly is going to use the super genius he inherited from his daddy, Baxter Stockman, to make a device that will turn every organism on Earth into a mutant.
Hmm.
Which that just seems like a recipe for a complete disaster because you're going to suddenly have an ecosystem that's all top order creatures.
Yeah. Well, something tells me he didn't think that far ahead.
No, he just hates humans because they killed his daddy, which I get it.
Yeah.
It's part of their forced parallel between Superfly and Splinter.
Yep. Yeah.
And then in a scene that really adds nothing to the movie whatsoever, besides an excuse for Splinter to be heroic,
Yeah.
the turtles get kidnapped by the people at the start of the movie, and the whole movie, it's been a running gag. If the humans catch you, they'll milk you for your mutant blood. They'll milk you. They'll milk you. They'll milk you.
Yeah.
Why does it always go to milking, Dad? We don't even have nipples. And
Yeah.
then what happens? What is the German mad scientist whose last name is Utrom as like a continuity nod do? Hook them
Mhm.
to the milking machine.
Yes, and starts milking their blood.
Which like you would think that it would be they use a different word like drain, collect,
Yeah.
siphon. No, just had to force the stupid joke.
Yeah. Uh, I, my eyes rolled so hard that my eyeballs went into the back of my head that whole
Yeah,
time.
it's
Just
just
like,
yeah.
yeah.
And then then there's like a little bit of there isn't really a moral dilemma here because it never is like there's never really a chance that they'll go with Superfly because Superfly reveals his evil in in the first meeting they have.
Yeah. Yeah, and then his mutant family is they're kind of starting to go, maybe this isn't such a good idea.
Yeah, like killing everyone. I mean, the
Yeah.
turtles say that humans are pretty cool, so maybe we should go along with that. And also, there's a chase scene where they transition from Hey the original one, da, 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 da. And then when it kicks into high gear, it turns into that meme He-Man version of it.
I just I is this a generational thing that we're just not getting it, or is Seth Rogen just doesn't know comedy anymore, or never knew it in the first place?
I well, let's get to the end of this.
Okay,
So,
okay,
so the turtles decide to stop Superfly, and so they have a fight. And I was actually kind of looking forward to this because the whole movie, they've been building up Superfly like he's literally a Superfly. Like he's got
yeah,
one big buff arm and one clawed arm, or
yeah,
like, no, one hand that's kind of normal, but he's like really messed up and weird. But he can like lift a truck, fully loaded truck, and fly away with it.
yeah,
So I was like, okay, we're gonna get to see a cool fight sequence between the turtles and Superfly. That will make this experience worth it. No, instead,
no,
all of his buddies turn on him with light prodding,
yeah,
and
and
then
yeah,
and then proceed to knock him into the bay, where he comes out as a giant Attack on Titan monster, and they reference Attack on Titan for the second time in the movie and proceeds to something. I was having a hard time paying attention at that point.
They get April gets like the reverse mutagen because she stole one of the motorcycles from the TCRI guys in the one of the earlier scenes.
Hmm.
And then she gets it to the turtles, and then they're like, okay, well, how are we going to get this in there? And then that's when Donatello has the Attack on Titan idea, and then whole mishmash sequence of them trying and failing to do it, and then they finally do it. Yeah.
The day is saved, and Splinter makes out with a bug woman.
Yes. And then April goes on TV and says, "No, the turtles are really good guys. They're trying to stop everything." And
And also,
and yeah, ugh,
in the unnecessary callback.
yeah, yeah, and good to see you, Ninja.
Hey, Ninja.
Um, yes, April O'Neil puking her guts out. Yeah,
I can't say I ever expected to see a movie where April O'Neil, even if it is kind of April O'Neil in name only,
yeah,
projectile vomits, much less a movie where it happens twice as a callback gag.
yeah, yeah. Um, and so the day is saved, and the all the mutants are living together in the sewer lair, and the turtles are now going to high school.
Yeah, Splinter made out with a bug woman. You heard me.
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and all of the mutants are living with them in the sewers.
Hmm.
Although logically, since they're all roughly the same age, because like a lot of those mutants were literally like fetuses in jars,
Yeah,
you would think like why aren't Bebop and Rocksteady and Mondo Gecko going to high school?
yeah. I don't know. Can't help you there.
But they're all living down in the sewers now.
Yep. Yeah, exactly, Ninja. Uh,
Yeah. So here's the strange thing about this movie. So a lot of Ninja Turtles movies could be summed up as a gang feud between a ninja and a rat.
yes.
Like there isn't like if let's say in the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie, let's say the Turtles lost, it would have been bad. The Foot Clan would have continued to dominate crime in the city, but it wouldn't have been the end of the world.
Right. Yeah.
Second movie, Secret of the Ooze, Super Shredder. He died by having a heavy object dropped on him. He was not a threat to the world order.
No, that was a very unfulfilling sequence there.
No. Yes, it was.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a Turtles movie where the premise was we have to stop the literal destruction of humankind.
Yeah, and I never got that feeling.
Yeah,
The entire yeah.
because the movie does not take itself seriously in the slightest.
No, it doesn't. And the turtles don't take themselves seriously either. When you watch it, like that one scene where they're all talking to each other and they're like talking over each other and I'm just like shut up, shut up, shut up.
They do that constantly.
Yeah. And yeah,
It could have been charming, but the way they do it here just is obnoxious.
yeah, it was obviously like the director just put the four kid actors in the recording booth together and said, "All right, let's start talking to each other."
Yep.
Yeah.
I also kind of feel like this would have been better off as this first season of a Ninja Turtles show for Nickelodeon than an actual movie. Because
Yeah.
there's like a pretty big character, there's a bunch of big character shifts when you really think about it. Because, Splinter learns to trust humans. Um, but the bigger thing is, boy, it sure didn't take much for Superfly's minions, who he was their literal father figure, to decide to turn on him because the turtles were kind of cool.
Yeah, that was that is a major leap in logic right there, even for a kids movie.
Yeah, like this would have been better served having the turtles develop a relationship with these mutants, and and if it had been a season of a show, you could have had more point to the evil corporation, because like they bothered to make a point of showing the head of the security for the evil company, losing his eye to Superfly. So you think, oh, this is going to be some sort of callback. No.
No, yeah. Yeah, and of course, and like you were mentioned before, the lady, the German lady, her last name's Utrom, which okay, they're obviously setting up that she's an Utrom.
Which, for
Yeah,
those of you who didn't watch the 2000s Ninja Turtles cartoon, or really, if you're only familiar with the original, that's basically Krang's species.
yeah, yeah, and they're the ones who created the ooze.
Yep.
Ooze,
Ooze.
ooze.
So yeah, like I wanted to like this movie because I feel like it had an A+ concept.
Hmm.
Because it would have been different. Like I said, most Turtles movies, except for that one 2000s CGI one that was kind of questionably in continuity with the cartoon at the time,
Yeah,
uh, like most of them are just that Shredder gang war.
yeah. It's a the family feud rivalry. The family rivalry between the Hamato Yoshi clan and the Orokusaki clan. Yeah, it's an easy little concept to get around.
You also don't usually have like a moral dilemma for the turtles to face. Like it's not there's never the question of do we fight the Shredder, it's how do we fight the Shredder.
Yeah,
So having a charismatic Superfly uh, leading a group of mutants living on their own terms and seeming more free, that the turtles legitimately have the opportunity to really think about if they want to join them or not.
yeah,
Like you have to have a couple of more meetings before you decide to reveal the genocide plan.
yeah, yeah. You got to build up some camaraderie with them a little, before the before the evil plan gets revealed. Like, oh, wait a second, I didn't sign up for that. Yeah.
Or, oh, Superfly, maybe he has a point. Because, like, if in a TV show, you could have had something like, I don't know, Leonardo getting into a fight with April
Hmm.
and him being hurt and deciding that maybe humans aren't that great and being tempted or something.
Right. Yeah. Or something with Raphael. Yeah. Yeah. And Ninja says the feud also emphasizes the ninja aspect of the turtles. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Now, we mentioned this before. This movie is very sloppy. Now, there's an aspect for that's intentional because the art style is designed to look like the scribbles in a teen's sketchbook.
Mm. Yeah. It's the Spider Verse animation style. Yeah.
Yep. Which it's funny. I was on my laptop watching the first half of it because the Paramount Plus app wouldn't load on my Xbox. Then I got back and watched the back half of it. It looked way worse on the big screen. I can't imagine watching this in the theaters.
Yeah, yeah. Although I will say in 4K it doesn't look as clunky, but it's still just like it looks cheap. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it. Yeah.
The art style really reminded me of the 2000s game Psychonauts,
Mm.
where they
I've
had like
heard
a
of
lot
it,
of
but
little
I'm yeah.
sketches and doodles and things all over the place.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard of it, but I never played it.
A lot of people didn't. It's why it
It's,
took 20 years to get a sequel.
yeah. But
Um,
yeah.
but the sloppy parts are there's lots of little like continuity and logic questions. Like Daniel, like when I was watching it before you did, I told you like pause when April was wanting to interview the turtles for her blog or whatever.
Yeah.
She had a list of questions.
Oh, right. Yeah. And one of them was the guy, the guy with the red bandana guy. Does he have anger? Always had anger issues or whatever? Like,
Um, movie, like, hey, Mr. Continuity guy. April was not in the scene to watch Raphael fight those mobsters.
yeah,
She would have no concept of him as the angry guy because he was not angry in front of her before this scene.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what the other questions were kind of dumb. Like, I know one of
Do
them
you
was like,
have acid blood?
yeah. Do you have acid blood? Can you get COVID? Are you responsible for COVID? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know that that was the result of the writers sitting around and just like coming up, like, you know, egging each other on. Like, what can we put down in April's question book as Easter eggs?
Yeah. Yeah. It just, yeah.
Yeah, so as a movie, it should have been a TV show. I was kind of thinking that to start with, but now I'm just convinced.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. They should have just done this as a TV show and,
They
put it
had
on
too
Nick.
many ideas.
Yeah. 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 And I don't like how the turtles are portrayed. I don't like how Splinter was portrayed. I'm a bit of a turtles purist. So seeing their origins and everything getting jumbled up and completely changed like that, I'm just like, no, I don't like it. I don't like it.
See, at first I was kind of more into this movie than you were, but I was just worn down by the waste of everything. Because like every time they had a serious scene, they would have the turtles ad lib,
Yeah,
and you get the impression that it's like, okay, it is realistically how a group of close friends or brothers do talk to each other,
yeah,
but that doesn't make it entertaining to watch or to
yeah,
keep doing it.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. No. Yeah.
So to quote the critic, it stinks.
Yes.
You had a cool original concept and you Seth Rogened it.
Yeah. Yes. Keep Seth Rogen away from franchises.
And they're having him work on a Darkwing Duck. Please let that be one of the things that got canceled with all the force majeure from the writers' strike and SAG strike.
Uh,
Please,
yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
these Darkwing Duck is to me what Ninja Turtles is to Daniel. Please,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
leave it alone.
Yeah. 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 We cannot recommend this movie. It's on Paramount Plus, but I wouldn't
Wa-
bother with it.
Watch 2 episodes of Star Trek instead.
Yes.
Which Star Trek? Pick one that was made before 2003. Most of them will be better than this.
Yes, exactly. And to put a final cherry on the top of this, I would rather watch Turtles 3 than this movie.
Oof.
Yeah. Uh,
Well, speaking of disappointment, not a good weekend to be Lionsgate.
no, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a lot of things to report here. The Nun continues to make money because it's a horror movie.
right. Yeah. Ninja asked a quick question. How about the Bay films? Don't bother with those. No.
My family had rented them or was watching it on TV once, and I was around, and I walked out about halfway through.
Yeah, they're not very good. Yeah. But yeah, so the Nun was number one. Nun 2 was number one again. Um, yeah, and then but then you got the Expendables 4, which is bombing hard.
Yeah, $100 million budget. Um, Now, this movie is likely already paid for by on international distribution deals and investments and whatnot, but you don't put out movies to have them be paid for.
Right. Yeah. And from what I'm hearing about this movie, it's just a mess. From all the reviews, and apparently, like Stallone was kind of shoehorned in at the last minute because he at first he wasn't going to do it, but then I guess he decided to do it anyway, and then they just had to figure out how to put him back in.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a miss, even if you're a diehard fan of the franchise, which is a shame.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but as we were saying before the show, the franchise has kind of overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, this is like the one case where they've been talking at one point about doing the Expendables, an all-female team.
Mhm.
That might have actually been more of a shot in the arm to the concept than this.
Yeah, I think so too. If they had gotten like, I mean, you could get like, I mean,
I
you
think I
could.
heard like Cynthia Rothrock was attached to it.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
Uh,
and
it- so
yeah,
you could do Lucy Lawless.
yeah. What's her name? From Everything Everywhere,
Oh, Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh. Yeah. Um, if she hadn't been canceled, maybe Gina Carano. But yeah,
Yeah, or Ronda Rousey,
Ronda Rousey.
who I think was in the third one.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
And I never saw the third one.
Third
But
one wasn't. The third one was a bloated mess because there were just so many people in it.
uh,
Yeah.
really, what they should have done was make a movie adaptation of your boy Zach's Expendables Go to Hell comic, because that
Yeah,
was actually really good.
yeah, I still need to read that. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so not yeah, like you're saying, not a good weekend for Lionsgate. Of course, Hunting in Venice is kind of hanging in there a little bit.
Yeah, though that's 25 million after 2 weekends, only in a down period at the box office like we've had the last few weeks. Would that be respectable? Though it's actually doing pretty well internationally.
Hmm. And they're not saying what the budget is, of
The
course.
cowards.
Yeah. Well, if you filmed any portion of your movie in the UK and you want to get those tax breaks, you got to tell them how much you spent.
Yep. Uh, so we'll see if Valiant Renegade comes out with a video about this one. Uh, Also, with this being another 20th Century Pictures movie that underperformed, you can see why their distributor is suing Disney.
Yeah. And
Equalizer 3,
yeah,
still around.
yeah. I think it's doing probably about. It'll probably do the same as the first two movies did.
Yep, just thanks to inflation, it means that that means that fewer people went.
Yeah,
Um, Barbie is still clinging to the top five after 10 weeks in release.
and getting released on digital.
Yep, and just like I mentioned last week, it's Barbie 3.2 million, Oppenheimer 1.6 million. These two movies are always like have that mathematical relationship with the domestic box office with each other.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, I cannot explain that at all.
Yeah, it's just uncanny.
Yeah.
The other one that was kind of interesting is Dumb Money,
Oh yeah.
which is the Wall Street Bets one.
Right. Yeah. The GameStop.
Yeah,
Yeah. Which I'm surprised that they made that a movie about that so quickly because that wasn't that long ago.
no, and it also has Seth Rogen in it, mind you. It's Seth Rogen playing a Wall Street hedge fund owner who is going to get his shirt ripped off by these Wall Street Bets guys. So
Mm.
hey, that's a good use for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Punching bag villain.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
But that's It Lives Inside. That sounds like a horror movie.
yeah. It does sound like a horror movie. Boy, numbers is really slow tonight.
It could also be where I am in the house I'm There does not seem to be a movie poster for it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Well, let me see
Sam
if
is
I can.
desperate to fit in at school, rejecting her Indian culture and failing to be like everyone else. When a mythological demon spirit latches onto her former best friend, she must come to
Uh,
terms with her heritage in order to defeat it.
yep, horror
Mm,
movie.
okay.
Yeah.
There are. It occurs to me that there are a lot of really crass jokes you could make if you felt like being Seth MacFarlane instead of Seth Rogen with that premise, but I would choose not to make them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that was the box office. Not a whole lot to report. Um,
Yeah.
everyone thought that Barbenheimer had saved movie theaters, and it looks like no, it just proves that people don't want to go see threes and fours anymore.
Right. Yeah. And it is September. Not a great month for movies.
Yep, it'll be horror season soon enough.
Yeah.
With the most horrific release of them all, the Marvels coming up soon after. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that does.
And you got the new Exorcist movie. I think is coming out in October.
Hmm.
Which I don't know why they do another Exorcist movie.
Because money.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good point.
Recognizable brand plus horror in October.
Mm.
Hear that, Pope's Exorcist? Horror movie release in October.
Yeah. Not in
Or,
June.
hey, Disney, Haunted Mansion. Release horror movies in October, not the summer.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
It's like you don't sell nearly as many frozen turkeys in the summer. It's like
Right.
things have a season.
Yes. Oh,
All
jeez.
right. I think that's the end of our kind of not much to talk about. Look through the box office.
Yeah. Yes. On to our cult classic review.
Yes. Tron, non-legacy.
Yes. So this was my pick. I picked this one out because I actually hadn't seen it in a while. And the ride at Disney World has just opened up last spring, which I showed a picture of that of me going on that ride with DB.
It looked like a hoot.
Yes, yeah, you're shooting out of that tunnel going 65 miles an hour, and you're basically in there like the motorcycles in the movie. So, um, but is there a meme here? I don't know.
Um, think of every Tron visual reference you've ever seen in movies. That's
Y-
the meme.
yes. um, but yeah. So this movie came out in '82, which was a big year for movies. Um,
Not a big year for this movie.
no, yeah, but not for this movie. Yeah. And yeah, of course, this was one of the many turkeys that Disney had released in the '80s. The mid to late '70s and 1980s were not a good decade for Disney.
No. I've actually heard people make the case that part of the reason why pop culture was so diverse and interesting in the 80s was that Disney was on the back foot the whole time.
I've heard that theory too. Well, could
I
be
think,
something to that.
yeah. So, if Disney keeps kind of eating it like it has been lately, maybe we'll get another renaissance.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so to get into this movie, if go over the plot. So the movie feature is about a video game programmer named Kevin Flynn, who's played by Jeff Bridges, and he used to work.
Man, I gotta say, the de-aging CGI on Jeff Bridges in this movie, completely unconvincing.
I know, I know, yeah, yeah,
I guess it was the 80s, so
right, yeah. uh, but yeah, so he's trying to hack into his old the old company he worked for, Encom, because the boss working there, Edward Dillinger, who's played by David Warner, who's the late David Warner, I should say. I think he passed away recently.
Yeah, like 2022, who
Yeah.
Freakazoid fans like me will recognize as the voice of the Lobe.
Yes, and also you pointed out that he was the voice of Ra's al Ghul in the Batman animated series.
Good
And
villainous voice. Excellent casting.
oh yeah, yeah, and he was in two Star Trek movies, Star Trek 5 and Star Trek 6, playing completely different characters.
Ha.
Uh, yeah, uh, but yeah, so so Kevin Flynn's trying to hack into NCOM because Edward Dillinger stole these 5 games that he developed, or he took credit for them,
Mhm.
and he's trying to find the file that proves it. But he can't get into he can't his program Clue, which if you've seen Tron Legacy, you've probably know Clue. Uh, Although it's a different Clue, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you can basically know him as he's the only program who's lit up in yellow because he's independent.
right. And he tries to get in, but then he gets caught by the Master Control Program, or the MCP, and then gets derezzed, basically gets killed. And so then we cut to Alan. I can't remember what his last name was.
It's
Um,
Alan is not terribly important. He is a character that you could have very easily cut from this movie.
yeah, that's true. But Alan created a program called Tron, and Tron is basically like this super program that's supposed to can actually is actually independent of the master control program, and actually oversee it, which is not a good thing for the MCP or for Dillinger.
Yeah, because MCP is the villain of the movie. Basically,
Mhm.
he it's weird in like um, MCP is like its only objective is to grow bigger and stronger and like more
Yeah,
intelligent, and it's like wants to hack into the Pentagon and the Kremlin just for the lulz, basically.
yeah, yeah. It's not your standard villainous AI. You know, it's almost like a kid if you think about it.
Yeah, like it's just a big bully.
Right. Yeah. And so then Alan, who's played by the guy from Babylon 5.
Bruce Boxleitner, which means that he has made a career, at least partially, out of playing major characters in cult media with dodgy CGI effects.
Yeah. uh, yeah, so then he goes to his girlfriend, uh Laura, I think was her name. And it's the if you've seen Caddyshack, it's the blonde girl from Caddyshack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um and so then she tells Alan about Kevin Flynn, because I guess they used to date too. Just
Yeah, and it's amusing. You have a company that makes computer games, but also is working on matter transportation,
yeah, yeah, they built this laser thing that digitizes stuff, which is like,
which is
yeah.
their excuse to have Jeff Bridges go into the company and get scanned into the computer world so he can play in their gladiator games.
Right. Yeah. Which. Yes. Long story short, that's what ended up happening, because the Alan and Laura go to Flynn's arcade, where he complains about the fact that his ideas got stolen, and the only money he's making off of Encom is from the meager, residuals from the arcade machines.
Yeah,
Uh,
because he's working at the arcade.
right. Yeah. And so then they break into the Encom, and so that he can hack into the system, and then, yes, as he said, he gets sucked into the MCP sucks him in, because he doesn't like Kevin Flynn hacking in. He's like, I'm gonna have to put you on the gaming grid.
Yeah. And so from there, it's kind of a little bit. Gladiator, a little bit Star Wars.
Yes. And and I know today that the visuals might look really cheap and dated, but keep in mind 40 plus years ago that it was pretty cutting edge.
Yeah, no, it's state of the art. And I was
Yeah.
saying before the show that special effects age, artistry doesn't. And this is a very visually distinctive movie that has a neat design sense and aesthetic to it. And even like you have the evil tanks running around. The scenes are well choreographed given the limitations.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean it's I think I'm trying to think it like yeah, it's the distinct yeah, like you're saying, the distinct visual I think is able to it helps it set it apart and it makes it like you said distinct and it's able to get away with looking dated, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Flynn runs into Tron, another character whose name I am forgetting.
um oh yeah, that guy,
Sam, was it?
s- uh,
No.
the guy that you liked or the
Yeah, the guy that I liked, the
Rom.
Rom, that's it. Yeah, so Rom is interesting because he's like just immediately charismatic and likable. He was an actuarial PC program that was put into the games, and he was just like he liked helping people. And
Yeah. Yeah, and they end up yeah, so Flynn, Tron, and Rom end up in the light cycle uh, grid, and then they're able to get away because one of the light cycles blow us up into the wall and opens up a hole.
yeah, so they escape. Tron, they get Tron and Flynn get separated. Rom dies. Tron runs into his girlfriend Yori, whose only role is to look attractive in a cat suit and occasionally kiss people, including both Flynn and Rom at different points.
which which is very very odd.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
kind of interesting, isn't it? That like how to put it. She's just there as eye candy. That's all she is.
pretty much, yeah. um, and and so they go to what was this the what basically like the sage character was who he was, and he's able to like they opened up the line where Tron can talk to Alan, which I was the communication between the humans, the users as the programs call them, and then the programs was a little odd because it's like are they really talking to him that way, or are they just sending them like basic commands and then it's being translated that way?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess from the perspective of these '80s computer programs, a few lines of basic instructions are commands from on high.
Yeah.
They do keep talking about. Okay, so weird thing that the MCP is doing
Mhm,
is it's like a communist atheist organization
mhm.
that insists that anybody who professes a belief in the users is a superstitious cretin, and
Yeah.
you're going to get second class treatment, so you'd better disavow the users and go with us. And
Yes, and if you don't, they'll throw you in the gladiator games and
like,
or
yeah,
yeah.
and we won't give you the good training like the people who are cool and have fedoras. Wrong
Right.
user.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of wish they had expanded on that a little bit more in this movie. You know, that whole dynamic between the basically the spirituality aspect of it.
Yeah, because it's one of the more interesting ideas of the movie. there's also the level where, uh, and this I thought was a little bit odd. There's like really only one time in the movie that you see anything that's like what daily life is like for these computer programs, and that's when Flynn crashes a stolen airship.
Yeah, yeah, and they're kind of scared at first, but then when it stops, they're just kind of like, all right, whatever. And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm okay, by the way. It's, uh, but yeah, then Flynn meets up with Tron and Yuri on the ship, or no, it was the whatever that glider thing,
The skimmer thing, yeah.
skimmer thing, yeah. And they have a little scene there, and then and of course the big battleship with the bad guy on there is Sark is his name, David Warner's character. And yeah, they
Really, I actually really liked Sark, though. That was entirely on the performance of the guy.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah, and they so they long story short, they end up getting to the MCP. And if you've
Who
watched
is
South Park,
the Hanukkah camp episode or the Jewish camp episode?
yes, yeah, and yes, the MCP is Moses, or Moses is the MCP, whichever one you want to, whichever way it is. And so Tron's there, and he's got to get his disc into the MCP in order to shut it down. And then Flynn somehow knows to jump into the middle of the MCP to stop it long enough so that Tron can get the disc in.
And so the day is saved, and the movie ends shockingly abruptly.
Yeah, yeah, the ending is very abrupt. Yeah, when Flynn gets sent back to the real world, and then he gets the printout that says that he was the creator of the games, and then yeah, Dillinger realizes it's all over, and then Kevin Flynn's not the boss, and yep,
Everything's good forever.
yes. Although flash forward about 20 years and not so much.
I mean, how bad can your dystopia be if you have Daft Punk doing your soundtrack?
I know. Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, the music in this one is apparently done by Journey, which I could not. I actually really enjoyed Journey, but I did not
Mhm.
recognize their flair in this at all.
No, I didn't. It's very electronic. Um,
Yeah,
which they're not. Well, they got some of their songs were kind of electronic, but I mean not to that degree.
yeah, it's interesting. So, good, the bad, and the ugly. As far as good goes, I would say that they picked good actors for this for the most part. It's just they didn't get to do much.
Right. Yeah.
Like you disliked Sark, and that's a okay. He is just kind of a generic villain, but I don't know. I kind of enjoyed his swagger.
Yeah, I didn't hate him, but I mean, I mean, like you said, I just kind of wish he was in it more.
Yeah. I actually asked you last night who's the main character here? Is it Tron or Flynn?
Mm. Yeah, and it certainly feels like it's more Flynn's movie because Jeff
Yeah.
Bridges was the bigger named actor. Um, yeah, so yeah, Tron definitely feels like kind of a something we've been seeing with movies today is where the named character is second fiddle in their own movie.
Yeah. There's yeah, so the acting is good. The visual effects, while dated, are very distinctive. And it's kind of interesting how they portray the CGI characters. Because so everybody's wearing identical jumpsuits
Hmm.
of one color or another. And it's like their faces are composited onto these basic models. Like there's
Yeah,
like this
yeah,
grainy filter attached to them.
yeah. They were filmed in black and white.
Okay.
If I remember the I watched a little thing about the about the making of like a long time ago, and I remember they I think that most of that footage was all black and white, and they just kind of added color to it later on.
Okay, that's way easier with 80s technology than filming in color, than black and whiting it, then adding more color back in.
Yeah.
And just even outside of the visual effects area, the design sense is actually very cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like the costumes are immediately iconic and recognizable.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a good thing to have for a movie like this. Yeah.
But I kind of understand after watching it. Okay, so there's movies out there that you basically know the plot of the movie without ever having seen the movie.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
The Godfather, anybody talks about The Godfather, you get the broad strokes of The Godfather.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd heard
Like.
people talk about Tron, but I'd had no idea what it was really about besides Flynn ends up inside of a computer.
Yeah. The part of the movie where he's where he's trying to prove that he made the games, and he's trying to get the file. It seems a little like we were saying when we were watching the movie, the stakes were kind of low.
Yeah, it's strange. It's like, so we complain about Ninja Turtles having the stakes too high for its level of seriousness. This feels like the stakes were a little bit too low for what it wanted to be.
Yeah.
This is the movie where MCP should have been trying to get command of the nuclear launch codes so that it could conquer humanity.
Hmm.
Because, okay, so it's strange. MCP was constantly in contact with his creator.
Yeah.
So clearly he believed that the users existed.
But he well here, okay, so here's the little tidbit here, the little characterization here, or for you. Whenever he was talking to Dillinger at the end of the conversation, he would say "end of line." That
Hmm.
was he says that because he thinks Dillinger is beneath him.
Right. Well, I mean, I got that.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. I got, I should say, I got that. I thought he was just doing end of line because that was like a basic thing.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, he clearly had a lot of disdain for him, especially because he could, get the information out there that would ruin him, like that
Mhm.
you didn't make the games thing.
Right. Yeah.
The whole games thing is kind of secondary. I think it's mostly there to justify the assets that are running around in that game, like like the flight cycle and the sky ships and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. But yeah, it probably should have, like I said, I think if they had expanded on that world a bit more, might have helped it a bit.
I think the movie was also hurt slightly by the fact that every major character in Tron World had to have an equivalent actor in the real world, like a very Wizard of Oz type thing.
Right. Yeah.
Because like it made enough sense to have Tron and look like Sam, because it's like, okay, well, Tron is Sam's agent, so to represent that, Tron has Sam's face,
Alan.
Alan's face. Excuse me. Why do I keep
That's
saying
right.
Sam? I don't know.
Sam was, I think, Flynn's son in Tron Legacy. I think that was
Oh,
his name.
okay, that could be mixing that
Yeah.
up. It's been
Yeah.
a while since I've seen Legacy,
Right.
but like the character of Yori, the girl who's there to be the girl.
Yeah.
At one point, Flynn even says, "I need your help," and as far as I could tell, the only help he got was her following around behind him and giving him a kiss.
Yeah. Well, she knew the whatever the guy, the communicator guy, whatever his name was.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
no, she was useful at that point, but
yeah.
Flynn escaped with her after that. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the only help that she gave Flynn was keeping him from being lonely. And then the harlot turned right around and kissed Tron right after they reunited.
Yeah. uh, yeah. Yeah, it's still that's not never not going to bother me. That whole sequence there. Yeah.
Like, I think that these elements could be combined into an excellent movie. And
Mhm.
what's there is like it's fine as just kind of a visual effects set or visual effects demo reel slash adventure movie.
Yeah.
Just like they're just slightly underbaked, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I would say it probably needed more time to cook, at least with the story, anyway.
Yeah, they got the effects down, and from what I read about the making of this, the effects were the point of the movie.
Mhm.
Well, you know what I mean. Like it was made
Yeah,
to show off how cool CGI effects could be.
yeah, yeah. Although this was not the first movie to have a CGI effect.
Oh, what was that?
It was well. I'll give you a hint. It came out the same year as this movie.
1982. What else came out in 82? Was it The Last Starfighter?
You're close with the genre, but not. But I think Last Starfighter was like a year or two after this one.
Okay. Oh well.
Um,
Hmm. Similar
uh,
genre. Was that a Star Trek movie?
yes, The Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
Yeah, it
What was
was
the CGI effect there?
the Genesis sequence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's neat.
Again, yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, close with the genre of ninja, but not quite. Um, but yeah, yeah. This little bit of trivia there.
Yeah. Although to be fair, this one had way more CGI
That's true.
because
Yes.
almost everything was CGI.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ninja also says, based on this review, I'd rather watch Tron Legacy. Yeah, I would say Legacy is slightly better. Or yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Tron feels like it's Disney trying to make its own Star Wars to compete with that George Lucas upstart.
right. Yeah. And yeah, because they failed with Black Hole a couple of years before. um, but yeah, they 70s and yeah, like Disney 70s 80s, they were moving away from animated and doing live action, which in the entire total history of the Disney company, their live action movies have always been pretty hit and miss, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and a lot of them were mostly successful due to being pretty inexpensive. Like a lot of Don Knotts movies, like the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yeah,
A lot of just kind of '70s family schlock.
yeah. Swiss Family Robinson, and yeah, um, the computer wore tennis shoes with with
Yeah,
um, Kurt Russell.
yeah, that type of thing. Which honestly is more on brand for Disney than Tron is, but
Yeah,
they keep wanting to make Tron happen. I can see why because it has a very unique visual flair, and the idea of what's the world like inside your computer is an interesting one.
yeah,
Arguably done better by a reboot.
yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah. Um, and now that I think about Legacy, even though it's been a while since I watched Legacy, that movie is almost exactly the same as this movie. In terms of the plot beats of it.
Yeah, just with the big difference being that because you already have Flynn established as somebody to be stuck in this world, and
Mhm.
you have his son being stuck too, you add a little bit more stake to it.
Right. Yeah. And Clue. I would say Clue was probably a much better villain than the MCP, because Clue was actually pretty evil and actually wanted to go to the real world and do some real damage.
Yeah, and the clue in this movie is kind of you could, aside from establishing what the computer world is like before Flynn ends up in it,
Hmm.
you could cut that whole sequence out, really.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Like putting on my screenwriter's hat here. So imagine if the movie was just Jeff Bridges is trying to. You could even go low stakes. Jeff Bridges is trying to find the proof that his games were ripped off,
Hmm.
and he doesn't know what the MCP is, and he gets stuck in the world and is just completely lost, having no concept of it.
Yeah.
But it happens to resemble his video games, like that. And then you could cut out like the first half hour of the movie and have more time in the game world.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah. And you have a good night, Ninja. Um. Yeah. I there was definitely some. Which is odd to say that with a movie that's 90 minutes long, that there would be fat to trim.
Yeah, it's. You almost wonder if those parts of the movies existed existed partially because it's cheaper to film.
Probably, yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, so would you give this movie a recommend?
I would say in the sense that it's a milestone of special effects. Just don't expect to the plot won't wow you. And and they killed my favorite character about halfway through.
Yeah. Yeah, that does happen. Um,
How about you? What do you think about it?
I would recommend it just from the standpoint of it being somewhat of somewhat of a relevant pop culture movie, um, and a relevant '80s movie. Like if you love '80s movies and you want to know what they were, what they were like, or get the full immersion of that decade, I would say watch this movie as
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah. At the very least, you'll start picking up on like there were a lot of things I didn't know were specifically Tron visual references as I went through it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
there, yeah,
But so I'll say like, okay, so the Ninja Turtles movie that we reviewed today, that had me angry because they actively destroyed a great premise. With this
yeah,
one, I would just say it is mildly disappointing, but not like hateful or anything. Just slightly slow in places.
yeah, yeah,
So if this is somebody's beloved childhood movie and you want to lynch me, um, I have no problem with this being your beloved movie.
yeah. I would agree with that as well. Yeah, um, and I guess to kind of cap it off, more people have seen this movie than the Simpsons would give it credit for. Anyone see the movie Tron? No, 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 no. Yes, I mean, no, no.
uh,
Uh, yeah. Well, I think we've said all that we need to say for tonight. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell for notifications. And real quick, a couple of things. Two things. One, DB's new book, Confessions of the Magpie Wizard 5, is now on Amazon,
yeah.
or at
Let's
least
see.
print.
So the print is available. The ebook is in pre-order with that dropping Sunday, because for whatever reason you can't put print books up for pre-order, which is strange. Like it's, as soon as they're accepted, they're accepted.
Yeah, that is odd. Hmm. Yeah, you need to fix that, Amazon.
Do better.
Yes. And Guardian Angels In Demand ends on Saturday. And I'll be doing a closeout stream with Bogdan at 5 p.m. Eastern. So come around and tune in for that. We would love to see you there.
What day is that again?
Saturday.
Okay, cool. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And on Monday, I'm actually going to be on Dono Straton's YouTube channel, where he's going
Oh,
to interview me about my books.
nice. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely tune into that. I'll be tuning into that as well. As well. And yeah, I'll be there to cheer you on.
Yep, just watch. The interview will suddenly turn unexpectedly hostile.
All right. Well, I think we uh, said all we need to say. So, good night, everybody.
Good night.